Welcome to Lynn's Warriors, where we stand up, speak out, and fight for America's most vulnerable. Today, we are honored to bring you a very special guest. I'm really completely honored, a true warrior in every sense of the word. He is a former CIA paramilitary officer, a decorated Marine, an accomplished actor, writer, producer, and the founder of the Association for the Recovery of Children, ARC, a group that has rescued scores of children from trafficking and exploitation. He is a man who understands firsthand the dark realities we are up against, and he has dedicated his life to bringing light, truth, and hope where others only see danger. The website is recoveryofchildren.org. His name is Bazzel Baz. Welcome, Baz, to the Warriors.
Thank you, Lynn, for having me. It's nice to be here.
I mean, absolutely. I'm so honored. I could just say that all day long to you. I am so honored. I am so honored. You have so many incredible credits, and I will have all of your information in the body of this video so everybody can take their time, read up about you. I mean, too numerous to even explain. We'd be here for at least 24, 48 hours. But I want to jump in with something right away. You know, I heard you recently in DC talking on a panel, a human trafficking summit. And I'm sorry, Baz, I get bored. It's kind of like always the same thing, right? And I say to myself, even though I attend them, want to be part of them, always looking to understand, I'm tired of conferences. I'm tired of summits. I'm tired of roundtables, right? Like we know all this is bad, exploitation of children, right? But when you spoke, I really sat up and I said, I've got to meet this person, speak to this person, interview this person, and get to know this person who thinks the way I think here at the Warriors. Can you just recall what you said at that? Because it was so refreshing. You said this is basically not about politics.
Yeah, I can. Thank you, Linz, and I apologize. I was sorry I wasn't available to meet you while we were there. I was inundated by
Well,
a
but
lot of
now
people.
you're stuck with me because you were a
There we
star,
go.
and every time I looked, you had
Well,
people
there you
lined up
go.
to talk to you. So I'm like, I'll catch them later. Yeah.
There you go. So, well, yeah, I'd love to repeat that. Uh, I'm not a politician. I don't have the luxury of compromise and negotiations. I'm just a warfighter that's been in the trenches rescuing kids for now 34 years. And one of the things I want to make clear to particularly people in Washington and around the world is this is not a political issue. It's not.
Mhm.
This is about crimes against children. And I think that I just talked a little bit more about accountability there as well. And particularly the issue that we're dealing with now with UACs, undocumented alien children, and their disappearance in our country. And letting people know that this was the largest child trafficking um, event in the history of our nation um, at the hands of the Biden administration. They can't escape it. It was all they're doing. We have evidence, we have records, whatever, which is crimes against children. Number one, we don't know if these children are in child pornography, organ harvesting, the child sex trade, whatever it may be. So, my message, I think you might recall there to the audience was, what are you going to do about it? And I wanted to push, and we're still working on it, what's called the Congressional Accountability Act. And what that basically says is that if your child or an American citizen is assaulted by an illegal alien, whether your child's molested, whatever it may be, that parent has the right to bring charges, criminal charges, against that illegal alien. And they should also have the right to bring charges against any member of Congress or the Senate that supported the Biden administration that was complicit in crimes against children by supporting the open border policy. I'll give you a very simple example. If you and I are sitting at your house and there's a rabid dog outside your house and I open the door and that dog comes in and mauls you, Lynn, am I not complicit in that crime? Absolutely. So that's not hard to understand.
Right.
Now they say, well, members of Congress or the Senate have immunity. They do to a certain degree, but not against federal crimes. So you make this a federal crime, and now we go after all those people rather than sitting back going, well, It was not during my time. It was not during 47's administration. We're just going to let it go like we let everything else go, like we let Hillary Clinton's crimes go, and like we let Bill Clinton's crimes go, and Obama's crimes go. And guess what happens? We never serve justice in this country. And also, what happens is the American people get to a point where they will not tolerate it any longer. So, even though you think that you are the good guy because you're sitting in an administration that 47 is controlling, if there is no accountability soon to come, you will be hated by the people as much as the people hate the Democratic Party. And there will be no turning back. And then we, the people, as I'm hearing in conversations, will start serving their own justice. And there is not no military large enough, there is no law enforcement large enough to prevent the will of we the people. And these are the conversations that I not only had, but this was the message that I was conveying to the audience there at CPAC as well.
I have to ask you, now you opened up a can of worms for me. Um, what was did you get any direct action from that? Now I'm asking, when you made that, I'll call it a speech, right? Your presentation speech, part of the panel. Because I noticed, Baj, people say to me, okay, you're right, you're right. It's too ugly, it's too dark. I don't want to talk about it. And so they walk away from it. Instead of, I'm a mother, soon to be grandmother. Like I want to walk towards it, like to see what is going on here, to ask questions and how can we help and how can we, protect kids. What kind of feedback do you get when you talk like
Well,
this?
thank you. That's a great question. First of all, I was told by a good friend of mine who I love him dearly, who's a lobbyist, said, don't bring this up there. You're in Washington. He goes, you're not going to be liked in Washington if you talk about a Congressional Accountability Act. And I wasn't going to talk about it. And then God said, talk about it. So I did. I actually took this to Nancy Mace's office. Excuse me. Um, and I know she's very busy. I took it to her office primarily because she's a Citadel graduate, and so am I, thinking that something might be done about it, or at least a dialogue might be started, and I haven't heard a word back from her. So I'm not going to point the finger. Maybe I took it to the wrong office. Maybe I assumed too much from a former Citadel graduate, and that, but I didn't even get a call back going, you
No good.
know,
No good.
Miss May,
You're
May,
far too kind. You're far too
you're,
kind.
yeah, you need to take it someplace else. I didn't get anything. So guess what? I'm pretty relentless. So America's Future, which we're on the advisory committee, and one of the wonderful associates there, Ellie Hopper and Jared and a number of other people have been in Senate hearings discussing the UAC problem.
Yeah.
And so I will make sure that the Congressional Accountability Act moves forward through some proper channels there with either Senator Clay Higgins or Senator Hawley or anybody that will listen and is not afraid to stand up and bring accountability back to the United States. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And I would like to recommend, if you don't mind my saying so, if you would approach Senator Hawley's office, because
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you why. He's been great with us in part of the bipartisan, child safety legislation. We've had Senator Marsha Blackburn, but she's leaving. She wants to become governor in
Right.
Tennessee. And he's been really stepping in and calling people out. He's been very good lately and helping us with something called Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which basically, I know I'm digressing, but basically
That's okay.
why there's no big tech accountability from these trillionaires, zillionaires, whatever these people are, the Mark Zuckerbergs and the Sam Altmans, is because when the internet was born in 1996, basically, there were two platforms. Then we've got thousands of things now, if you all the apps and gaming and platforms. And in 1996, they were designated a newsstand or a billboard. You can't be held responsible for third-party content. So that Section 230 is still standing. And so now the predators are always 10 steps ahead of everybody, right? He's trying to sunset that. He's becoming very proactive with everything we work on in the name of child safety. So I think, if you don't mind my saying so, this may be a good place to go. But I say, Boz, to you, if you don't mind me saying this, I'm sorry. People have to respect with your career, your credits, you went to school. I mean, come on now. the least you can do is get a response. See, this is the kind of thing that is unacceptable in my book. Not a
Yeah,
response like try this office or let's have everybody gets their 15 minutes, right? Or should.
yeah,
So, yeah, we got to keep chipping away. But Josh Hawley is doing some great things lately. So I'm going to
yeah.
recommend him.
Thank you. I'll move in that direction. And Senator Blackburn, I'm a big admirer of her. I remember when we were on the ground with the first night flights coming in with the illegal immigrant children, and I called up uh, TBI, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, and they went, "No, it's on the up and up." And it wasn't on the up and up
Yeah.
because later you got the governor going, I didn't know anything about this. And then Senator Blackburn was the one that stepped up to the plate and said, what do you mean you don't know anything about this? What's going on here in our state? So I hope she does become the next governor of Tennessee, to be honest with you. And I hope when she does that she goes to Wilson Airfield and shuts them down for transporting children illegally at night. That's another issue that hasn't been addressed as well as as I said, MVM and Catholic Charities taking billions of dollars to transport children all over, not only all over the United States, but get this, Lynn, across the
Yeah.
pond into Europe. I have a whistleblower that'll be going up before Congress here pretty soon, who was actually part of that whole logistical mechanism. And while we were trying to get children to safety out of Ukraine during the war, why are they shipping children into Ukraine? Question. Now, here's another question. How many people know what Fauci is doing in Ukraine right now? Let me ask you another question. How many know what biolabs still remain in Ukraine right now? Let me ask a third question. How many people know that children are used for biological experimentation at many labs across the world? I don't know. Good questions to be answered, but I think they deserve to be answered, to be honest with you. Excuse me. Go ahead.
Unbelievable. Another question. Again, I digress because this is what you're doing to my brain here. I keep asking when we have these different, local kind of sweeps. Every once in a while, we have so and so. We picked up, 50 men or something like that. And the articles or we'll always say, or the press releases, 12 children. And then I'm always asking, well, who are these children? Where do these children come from? Are their parents like involved? You never get any answers. I'm always saying, like, where did the children come from in the first place? Type of thing. I've never gotten one answer about any of that, including little babies. I'm like, where did these babies come from? Uh, and you know what? I'm a Catholic, so I can say this. I've also been asking Baz about all these charities on the border, like because we had our sources that would report to me. You know, you got Catholic charities, and it was not just Catholic charities. We named them a lot,
No.
but you had we had Jewish charities. We had all kinds of
Yeah.
charities on that border, right? What happened there? It was a very well-oiled trafficking operation, and you're confirming that with so where's the accountability? There's no talk about it. There's no discussion. It's just done and over with. It's
Yeah.
it's unacceptable, and all that money that could have been used to really help kids or help families or build safe houses or give victims and survivors of trafficking, which by the way, I don't like that word trafficking. I don't think the public understands it. It's really slavery, the enslavement of people.
Yeah.
And we could have used all that money, right, that the government handed over from our taxes or wherever they got it to really help Americans. And that's what gets me angry because they didn't. They didn't. But let me ask you, with your incredible career and everything you've done, um, what what really was the impetus that you said to yourself, "I'm going in this direction"? I mean, you're doing so many different things, but and have over the last several decades, that I'm going to fight for children because I think it's one of the hardest battles there is. I've come to that conclusion.
Yeah, in 1993, I was in Mogadishu, Somalia, as one of a couple of CIA teams that were in there. Many people remember that area from an incident known as Black Hawk Down. So I was in that region, and on a given day, we rescued a couple of children that were not indigenous and took them to an orphanage. I believe the story is their father was an Italian engineer or something like that that abandoned them during the Civil War. And so I suspect he had a family in Italy and had a family in Mogadishu while he was working there as well. So when I got back to the United States, um, I just kind of, it really stirred my heart. I had never really given much thought, and that was in 1993, to what happens with just children. I kind of thought they all grew up like most of us, and you have a nice family, you go to college, you get a job, you get a career, you live your life out. And so I started asking around, and I found out at that time in 93 that there were about 250,000 American children missing. So when I went to my law enforcement, both local, state, and federal law enforcement partners, I said, "What does that mean, missing?" And pretty much everybody was like, "Well, it's just missing. We don't really know what it means." You know, they're most of them are runaways. And so through deeper research, I found out that that wasn't the case. They weren't all runaways. There was a thing called child pornography, and there was a thing called organ harvesting, and it was all these things happening to children. And there was even some research I did that led me to believe that pharmaceutical companies are holding children in labs, places we don't even know, to use them to better alter their medications
Mm.
or whatever it may be. And because, they don't want to fight PETA anymore, when they're using, animals for test
Oh
rats
my
or
goodness.
lab rats. And so that, um, all of that, and the fact that our law enforcement had communication challenges, state to state. They had budgetary constraints. Um, there were other priorities like terrorism, homicide, car theft, everything you could think of outside of saving children. Children were just on the low end of the
Yeah.
totem pole. And I realized something, is that the children of our country are the future of America.
Yes.
And that if we allow our children to be erased, we won't have a future for our country. If we allow our children to grow up in a dysfunctional, traumatized environment, they'll become dysfunctional adults that won't be capable of running the country. Um, then you add to the fact that the globalist Marxist agenda is to teach people what to think instead of how to think, which we've seen that take place in our colleges and our schools already.
Mm.
And all these things added up. And then I just said to myself one evening, and it actually happened in Mogadishu, Somalia, but it was where I just said, God, why aren't you doing something about this?
Mhm.
And I heard an audible voice that said, I did. I created you. And I think what he was speaking to was not just me, but I was speaking to all the people that wonder why they should get in the fight and why God isn't doing something about it. And he did. He created all of us to do something about that. So from 93 to 96, my holidays, I went out rescuing kids, unbeknownst to my employer, which was the CIA at that time. And then by 96, I was pretty well convinced that I needed to jump ship and had to figure out a way to do that, which I did, and jump ship to start rescuing children on a regular basis. And so after you rescue your first child, your life changes. I mean, if you're a person of conscience, I don't know how you could do anything else. You mentioned the word trafficking, and it's really an overused word. You're right, Lynn. I like to tell people that it's so used that most people don't even blink an eye at it when I mention it. So I like to tell people what it really is, and I use this example. I tell them it's the 7-year-old girl that's chained to the floor of a closet, that with cigarette burns all over her body, that isn't fed in days and yet raped 15 times a day by male and female predators, with so many STDs and so much trauma that she will be lucky if she sees her 18th birthday. And that's what it is. It's paid child rape, and it is a crime against children. I was just in a meeting with Mary Flynn O'Neill, America's Future. She runs that. You know her, and Mike and them, and we had talked about this issue also, trafficking, and we agreed that we actually had to change the way we were approaching that. And now we approach it with exactly that. It's crimes against children. And that's the way we need to look at it. It's not trafficking. It's not a business model that should be decided on whether we should let them run it and tax them on it. The it's not like the cannabis, issue where, oh, we'll just make it legal and we'll just tax everybody on it. That's the problem with our government. When something becomes so big that they can't handle it, you know what they do? They legalize it and then they tax it. And that's what I fear will happen with
Happening here in New York. That's
here
what.
in the United States, where all of a sudden They won't be able to control pedophilia because they're not willing to put the death penalty in place, except for DeSantis and Raul, the AG up in Idaho, and a few other people getting on board. I believe Alabama now and some other people. But the majority of the blue states, that are run by Democrats, they're not willing to do that. They don't care about children. And at least in my professional opinion, they don't care about the welfare of children that are being sexually abused in this country. In fact, they promote pedophilia. They promote minor attracted persons as a culture, so to speak, and transgender, and the list goes on and on and on. And that is not good for our country. It is evil and it is wrong. And so these are the things that we have to take into consideration that are happening. And if we're not careful, if they're not careful, what will happen is they will try to legalize pedophilia one day in this country, and there will be generations that, if we're not careful, that will think it's okay to do that. They will buy into it. Fortunately, I think that we may have somewhat resurrected common sense in this country, and it came at the expense of a great patriot, Charlie Kirk. You know, um, I think that we may have ignited a fire of people in America with good conscience that will not again put up with any of this crap. When they see an American flag being burned, they're going to take that flag and wrap it around somebody, and they're going to let them burn in it and say, "You don't do this to our flag," or they're going to take it away, or they're going to stop Antifa, or they're going to stop Black Lives Matter, or they're going to stop all the organizations that are supported by the communists, the Marxists, the Democrats that want to destroy the fiber of our country. And so I think what's going to be very interesting over the next year to see what really happens in our country. And by God's good grace, maybe, just maybe, in reference to our discussion, things will shift and people will get on board to save the children of our country, of America.
Yeah, I mean, I want to remind our warriors this really is not about a political party. I mean, it's really human rights abuses. Although, as I just said that, I'm thinking about what happened during the Biden administration, but I'll just leave that for a second. But
Yeah,
there's the problem right here in New York City right now. We have this uh, Muslim running for mayor, and 33 years old. His wife is 27. They very clearly in the past, he's been an assembly member, put out full decriminalization of the sex trade, which people in New York say, oh, that's great. But they don't understand it's legalizing brothels, it's legalizing pimps and traffickers, it's legalizing sex buying. And
yeah,
the demand is for children. I fight this all the time. The demand is for children. The younger, the better. That's the stark reality. That's what it is. Therefore, supply and demand, more children will be trafficked, will be enslaved. And then people are like, oh, okay, I guess. But law enforcement has told me, Baz, that they're doing this as kind of a test. They want to test California and New York, as sex tourism capitals of the country. And I actually have nightmares about I'm going to. I live near Times Square. See children behind glass windows in the near future. I'm not kidding. Being
yeah,
sold
like
because
in
I
Amsterdam. Yeah,
I I see I see now Times Square if I'm walking through it to get to the other side of town. There are little boys running around Times Square. I want to say to you, 6, 7 years old, and they'll run up to the tourists. They're easy to pick out tourists, right? They don't run up to me. They go to the tourists. Hey, you want a girl? You want a girl? These little kids.
wow.
And I
Yeah,
think, wow, and the police station's right there. I'm not blaming them, but I'm seeing this constantly, and they run up to men that are with looks like girlfriends or wives. There's like, no, it's become so normalized, I think, and habituated. Um, that brings me, we've talked about this is not just, and we could talk all day about all of this. This is just not this border issue. It's really cultural rot. That's what I'm going to call it.
yeah.
Cultural. It hurts me to say that in America, cultural rot, but I don't know how else to describe this horror. Who do you think is enabling it? Do you think it's really, we touched upon this a little bit. I mean, it's a big question. Is it politicians, corporations, cartels, Hollywood, which I have experience with, or do you think it's just all of it? It's this big body of all of them pushing all of this.
It's a combination of all of them, to be honest with you, and they're all aligned with each other. But I will tell you, the people that can make a difference are our politicians. And I
Yeah.
don't mind saying this today. I was just driving yesterday, trying to not be political, but I'm going to tell you something, and I've just come to the conclusion. The Democratic Party is the enemy of this country right now. The Republican Party could be, but they're not. They still talk the values of family and Bible and Constitution, and the Democratic Party does not. And it does not surprise me every time I'm talking to people on the streets across the United States how much they hate the Democrats.
Yes.
And I mean, I'm talking about, I mean, never, like I've never seen it before. You know, I've heard people talk about horrible, horrible things they want to do to Democrats and representatives of the Democratic Party, and then they realize that they are destroying the country. And it's just we're at a time now where honestly, we're to the wise of Democrats. I wouldn't let people know you're a Democrat because people are fed up with it. You know, if you support the Democrat policies for this country, then you're supporting things just like what you're talking about right there,
Yeah.
Lynn, because they could put a stop to it. In reference to the Muslim aspect of things, any Muslim in America that believes that Sharia law should replace the Constitution should be immediately deported from this country. That's treason. And if you and one thing you got to understand about Muslims, and I do, because my grandfather came from Lebanon and he was a Muslim who converted to Christianity later in his life. And he told me the same thing as a Muslim. He goes, I have yet to meet any good Muslim, and I used to be one because they want to come and conquer. They do not want to assimilate. They want to come and conquer this country. You need to be aware of that. He would never let me travel back to Lebanon for that same reason. He did not want me to be influenced by Sharia law, by the Quran, or whatever it may be. And this is not a religious discussion to be had. This is a national security issue
Yes.
to be had. And we've learned this over and over and over. As a counterterrorism officer, I've learned this over 40 some years. If someone of the Muslim faith tells you they're going to do something, most of the time you better believe them because they're going to do it. If they say Sharia law should replace the Constitution of the United States, they're going to do everything they can
Yeah.
to make sure that happens. If they say they're going to outbreed you in America, they're going to do it. They're going to do it. Now, there's a lot of other religions and other nations I've studied all over my former CIA career, and they may say things, but it doesn't really come true. The Muslims do it. They're just the opposite of the Chinese. The Chinese don't say anything about it, but they just do it. The Muslims, they throw the flag out there, and nobody takes them seriously. So
Why?
this mayor that may be in New York, if you aren't careful, and it will happen, New York City will fall under Sharia law. Prostitution will be legalized. All of the things that you're talking about, Lynn, will in fact happen, and I will take good people. You know, you've heard this before. The only thing for evil to rule is for good people to do nothing. And that's how it will happen right there. I don't know how the state of New York even allows this guy to become the mayor of New York City, to be honest with you. New York City will fall. Will fall.
Yeah.
You will see it
I'm
become
seeing it. I'm
a
seeing it.
floodgate for Islam, and you will not recognize it. It will turn into what Detroit has turned into. You won't even recognize America anymore.
No, we're going to look like London. That's what I
Yeah.
think it's going to, because again, what I'm seeing on the streets is indicative of what's been coming here just in the last few months. And so, to your point, I don't understand how this is allowed, how people don't fight back. They're so accepting of this. Again, I keep thinking of our children, our future, why this is being allowed. Um, Let me ask you something. Do you really think our politicians, we're not naming names or anything like that. I'm always talking about the Warriors. We do bipartisan work. All of this is bipartisan. Yet it's so slow. I pointed out the Section 230 from 1996. I mean, kick that to the curb. 30 years, Buzz. I mean, come on now. We never amended it. We never did anything. We've allowed all this. Do you really think we can get somewhere in the next couple of years? Because two things. Now I'm going back a little bit. When I heard this person, I don't even like to say his name, who's running for New York City mayor, and most likely, because we're very truthful here at the Warriors, will be the mayor. Okay, this will be allowed. He put out one day a press release that he visited in a couple of days 145 mosques in New York City. I didn't even know 145 mosques existed in New York City. That's an incredible number just right there. And it's probably more, but that was the number he put out, right?
Mhm.
But let's go further now. Like, because I'm always about the next gig, so to speak. So once 47 is done, we don't know who the next president will be or figurehead, whatever you want to call that position. Everything will just be undone. Any good that's being done now, as we learned last time, was undone on day one. Things to do with trafficking and all that, right? All those executive orders. Do you really think we can unravel this? How do we unravel it? Or do we just stay in our homes and communities? I know what you're doing is much bigger. Your mission, like what I do, my mission on the ground here with families. Can we just do what we're doing, or do you really see change? I'm hopeful for change, but I have to admit a word I do not use. I'm going to use with you. I'm scared. I'm scared right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I think that anything's possible with God's help. I think that until the people realize that it doesn't get done unless they do it themselves.
Hmm.
Look, here's what I would say for the people of New York if they're listening. Don't complain
Yes.
for the work you didn't do. Don't complain when all of a sudden you're under Sharia law. Don't complain when you have drugs flooding into your town because you didn't stand up and do anything about it. Same thing with law enforcement. Our law enforcement partners, this message is to you. If you have corruption in your ranks, get rid of it. People look up to you. You are a pillar of our country.
Yes.
Historically speaking, we have trusted our law enforcement to always do the right thing, okay? Research, understand what's going to happen if you allow the door to be left open to certain things in your neighborhood, in your city, in your country. Look at the example. Look at the example of Omar in Congress. What a piece of junk.
But I don't
How
understand
come
that, Boz. I
she
don't mean to
came here?
interrupt you. I
She
don't
came here
understand it.
illegally. How is it that she's
I
not?
don't get
She
it.
came here illegally. She lied. There's fraud. How come she's still in the country? She should be deported. So the reason we're having
I
these
don't get it.
problems is because no action is being taken. So here's the question to the American people: how do you take action?
Hmm.
You don't write letters. You don't send an email because you don't know if it's being received. You gather people and you go to their office. You go to their offices. You go to congressional offices. You go to the mayor's office. You bring thousands of people that demand something change, and you hold them accountable for that. And then we start seeing some change. You remember what your citizens arrest laws are. If you see a crime being committed, don't wait for the police to get there because prompt chances are they won't be able to. Use your rights under the Constitution as a citizen of the United States of America to take care of your neighborhoods and your communities, and do not let evil even come into your community. Look, the days of us being nice people, and I know I'm going to get slapped by my pastor friends for this, but these are days of David and Goliath. So, yes, I am encouraging responsibility. I am encouraging accountability in whatever form or fashion it takes to make sure that you stop evil at your doors and everything. That is the American way. And what I speak to you right now is
Hmm.
nothing different than our founding fathers put on print, on paper. They spoke the same thing. If you do not defend your land, if you not defend your country, and you think somebody else is going to do it, it's going to be too late. It's going to end up on your front doorstep, and then you're going to cry because you're going to
That's
try
right.
to point the finger and blame somebody else for not stopping it. Whether it's Sharia law taking over the country, or whether it's terrorism, attacking certain things in the country, whether it's drugs and cartel activity in the country or in your neighborhood. As much as I love, and I got to tell you what, I have great admiration for 47. I am so grateful that he is the president of the United States. He is my commander in chief, and he is greatly honored by me and my family. But he can't do it himself. He
Yes.
cannot do it himself. It takes we the people, and we have to step up to the plate and give him a hand, and to give him a hand by actually getting physically in someone's face, so to speak, whether it's your senator, your congressman, or whatever it takes until that change takes place, to be honest with you. Look, evil doesn't understand an email, evil doesn't understand a letter. What evil understands is when good is standing face to face
Yeah.
and eyeing them down. That's what evil understands. And that's what I encourage Americans to do. We saw that at the vigils with Charlie Kirk. We're seeing it. And I think people are getting it. And I'm also telling America, don't stand for it any longer. This is your country. It has been under attack. General Mike Flynn spoke about this for years. Look at
Yes.
all the stuff that happened under the Obama administration, all the lies. Obama hasn't been held accountable for that, and other people haven't been held accountable for that. And that right there, and my message to Congress, is going to be the tipping point. If these people are not brought to justice within the next year, America will take care of it itself. I can tell you. I'm telling you that from the conversations I have all across this land of ours when I go to speak. People are fed up, and then they're gonna start taking care of business on their own. So call it
I
civil
agree.
war. I don't think it'll end up in a civil war. I think what it'll end up cleaning up house, to be honest with you. I think it'll put, you think you're scared. I think the Democrats will be scared. I think the Islamics that want to destroy the Constitution will be scared. I think the pedophiles will be scared. I think that the criminals will be scared because for the first time in a long time in our nation, people will stand up and take responsibility and say, you didn't do it, USG, guess what? I'm going to do it. You didn't do it, police department, I'm going to do it. So, really, law enforcement and politicians need to get on board with the people. It's not the people getting on board with politicians. There are laws on the book that haven't, I mean, don't even get listened to. And you know how they make us feel good each generation? They create a new law and we go, oh, they're doing something about it. Why didn't you enforce the laws that were on the book 14 years ago? They don't have an answer for that because it's all smoke and mirrors. And people are starting to see through it now. Just like when Charlie got assassinated and the FBI came out with his report, there were a lot of smart people in the crowd who went, wait a minute, something's not right here. People could see through that. But because bureaucracy has a habit of smoke screening the people and trying to make people think that they're on it, that they immediately jump and they go, this is the shooter and this is how it happened. And guess what? And they get it wrong because people are using common sense and going, wait a minute, you're telling me he stuffed a Mauser in his pants and he jumped off a building and we saw him jump off the building and he bent his legs? How do you do that with a Mauser stuffed down your pants? So America is very sophisticated,
Yes.
a lot more sophisticated than it used to be. And all you do is when you bring false statements to the American public and they scrutinize you, you look like an unreliable idiot. And you look like your organization is unreliable and we don't trust you any longer. It would be better off to say, we don't have the answer right yet, but we're working on it. But they didn't in this case. And they don't do it a lot of times. And if you're really seasoned, which you are, Lynn, and listening to Congress, how they just fluff and fluff around stuff and they never get to the issue, it's just like a shell game, right? And they think they're smarter than everybody else. But what they don't understand is there are people out there that can go behind the veil and see what they're actually all about. And it's just a moment of time before those people get removed from their positions because of their dealings with corruption.
You brought up so many things. I want to go back on one thing. Oh, you brought up so much stuff. With these internet sleuths, I'll call them that for lack of a better, a couple of words right now. You can't get away with a lot of stuff. There are a lot of people that'll stick to, real videos and really find out, yeah, where was that gun? He jumped off. That was the first thing I saw. I'm like, where is it? He's jumping down. His legs are bending. Even I'm saying this, you know. And I also want to say something you said before. I travel the country a lot, and despite, I may be in somewhat of a bubble here in New York City, I have to tell you, Boz, people are like you and me when I talk to them. They don't necessarily know when I go to different things, when I'm not speaking on behalf of the Warriors, like who I am, what I'm thinking, what I'm doing. And as they start talking, because I always look at everybody as kind of a focus group, my audience, see what people are really thinking. They're like us. They're Americans. They're not about all this crazy stuff, these pushed agendas. They are not, right? And so I just know everything you're saying, I believe is happening. And I also, people are smart today. People are onto it. We're not buying it anymore. Okay. So I'm hoping, that is the hope, that this change that's happening right now. And I thought, watching the complete memorial service for Charlie on Sunday, which I did, that is very threatening to a lot of people. To see people in unity, to see people in prayer, to see people coming together peacefully, to see how this is growing, to see we're told all these new chapters of Turning Point in high schools and colleges. I had a lot of people reach out to me and say, my daughter tried to start, did you know, in New Jersey, a high school chapter a few years ago. They wouldn't let her. Like, so I didn't even know they weren't even allowed in the high schools or colleges. And I think this groundswell, but I leave you with, it's 2025 and everybody must and can do something today. It's no longer relying on whether it's government to do anything, really, right? Schools to educate our kids. Like, we have to all do something, become involved, but also teach our children and mentor them that they have to also become involved so we can build up that underbase. Again, I could talk to you for hours, but I want you to leave us with parents, teachers, just citizens, warriors out there watching. What practical steps right now, Baz? Because we're throwing a lot at people, right? And like what you and I can absorb, it's hard for people. They tell me. They're like, Lynn, you talk about a lot of things. Like, what should we focus on right now? What do you want them, to focus on right now? If you could pick one or two things, because that's where we start. And then hopefully we work on that. It snowballs. They talk to people, that snowballs. And we just keep marching forward to build this strong, kind of union. What do you want them right now, the public, to focus on?
I want the public to focus on it first, whether they care or not. If
Okay.
you care for this country, don't underestimate who you are and the power of the people. We the people. And what I'd like America to focus on now is accountability. I want to see people brought to justice. That right there will set the marker. For example, the death penalty should be federal law in every state in America. That sends a message to predators or pedophiles, anybody who touches a kid under the age of 18, not 12 years old below, because 18 to 12, guess what? They can still be used for child pornography. Those are children. If the law in your state says you're a child until you're 18, then all children, rape against children, grooming, there should be a grooming standard as well. But I want you to hold people accountable for that. And I want to see people start going to jail. And I think for their crimes, the investigations that have been started, that's the very first step right there. If we set that there, then we will deter a lot and we will uncover a lot in the process, more evil, more things that are happening. But that's the very first thing. That is the major thing that is lacking in this country, and it is frustrating most good Americans, is that people are not being held for crimes they're committing, particularly people that aren't the average American, people of influence. We want to see Hillary Clinton go to jail. I want to see Obama go to jail. I want to see anybody who's complicit in these crimes against children and against all the things that we want to see them go to jail, because that is what the government would do to the average American people. And so there is a sense of unfairness in the American populace right now when it comes to what the government should be doing and is not doing. They're smoke screening again. So I think that is my call. My call to America is that hold people accountable for the crimes they are committing against children and what they have committed against the country, and do not let them go, because we've seen too much of that. Look how long it took us to uncover the fact that George Bush Sr. and Johnson were involved in the Kennedy assassination. And look at everything they told us about, that Oswald was a lone shooter. We know he wasn't a lone shooter. I know that coming out of the CIA. There's files I've seen. He wasn't the only shooter there. So it took us this long to understand that. It should not take us this long to understand who assassinated Charlie Kirk, or who attempted to assassinate President Trump. No one's buying that either, that there weren't more hands involved in the attempted assassination of 47. So if that doesn't happen in America soon, then we have lost everything that we have been fighting for, and that 47 is fighting for right now, for at least the next 3 years. And I think that we, the people, have a right. We have constitutional rights to make those things just happen. Don't put up with it anymore. Don't put up with it anymore. You will lose your nation. And I fought really hard as a Cold Warrior to stop that type of communism, Marxism, globalist control over the nation. And somehow it snuck through our back door. And you got to join the fight. You got to get in and do it.
Amen. But I kind of lied because I have to ask you one more question. And the question
Sure.
is, one thing now, break it down, protecting our kids. What do you want to see the parents? We have a lot of different family units today. We have a lot of grandparents raising kids, older siblings here in New York raising kids. So I like to say guardians. We have different, dynamics. What do you want to tell them? Everybody's overwhelmed. Everybody's trying to, pay the rent, put food on the table. What's your one suggesting having rescued and being in this, countless children and helping with all of this? What do you want them to know about keeping kids safe right now? We've got that internet weighing heavily on everybody. We've got the AI, the artificial intelligence. Give us some advice about that.
Yeah, monitor your children and what they're doing on their computers and on their phones, even to the point that if you have to take it away from them. Establish a family unit. It's very
Yes.
important. It is the foundation of America. The family is the foundation of America because it provides children with something that children out there that are lost don't have, a sense of identity. If I can remove the identity of a child, I can control them to be anything I want them to be. But if you raise your children up and they know your heritage and they know your family and they're proud of it and they have identity, then they become someone, then they will be successful in this life and they will not be easily fooled because they know who they have to go back to, which is a good mom or a good dad or whatever. Now, there's a lot of kids out there that have crappy parents, okay?
Yeah.
That's a tough one to be honest with you, you know. And CPS is corrupt, and adoption services suck, and foster care is not the best it should be. So we've got a lot of challenges, but if you have a family unit, maintain that family unit, make it the most important thing in your life, particularly with your children, and give them a sense of duty and a sense of integrity and identity. Take them to church. Give them a sense of their love for God and country and what they do not learn in school about the country. Then take the time and invest in your children and teach them the Constitution. Teach them their rights so that when they grow to be older, they know what they can do and what they cannot do, and no one can blow smoke in their face. You'll build a stronger, you'll build a stronger America, and you'll build stronger families, and we will save more kids. Most kids that we rescue we cannot take back to their families because their families were oftentimes the ones that sold them into
Yeah.
the sex trade to begin with. So here's another great law to put in. If you're responsible for the demise of your child, or you're responsible for selling your child into sex trafficking, you go to prison or you get the death penalty. That's it. Because here's the reality. How do you murder a child without killing them? You traffic them. That's what you do. You sexually exploit them. And they die every single day for the rest of their life. It's one of the most heinous crimes I have ever seen committed against the most innocent of human beings on our planet, sexually exploiting children and everything. And there's no excuse for it. So if you're a parent and you rape your child, you exploit your child, you traffic your child, you get the death penalty. You're complicit in that crime, just like I talked about a little bit earlier, the number of politicians that are complicit in the crime of bringing UACs across the border who are now being trafficked, organ harvested, whatever it may be. They are just as guilty for that. And in my opinion, they deserve prison or they deserve the death penalty as well. Stop jerking around
Yeah.
and make your yes a yes and your no your no. There is no room for compromise. There might be room for compromise on some things, but when it comes to raping children in our country, there is no compromise at all. And if you're at fault, or you participated in it, or you're complicit in the crime of
Yes.
rape against children, you should get the death penalty.
Amen. That's how I'm going to end on that note. Well, the website, everybody, is recoveryforchildren.org. I want to thank you, Baz, for taking the time. Thank you for your service to our country, the great work you do. Promise me that you will come back to the Warriors, talk again. There are so many issues, and I feel like we have to do it constantly to keep the public engaged and keep them updated on things media is not really telling them about. I want everybody to go to the website again, recoveryofchildren.org. All your information will be in the body of the video. They can find out about how to donate. They can find out about trainings, education, see exactly what you're involved with. I just want to say to you on behalf of Lynn's Warriors and everybody, who refuses, to look the other way, we want to thank you, because the only thing I can say to you is you truly are the definition of warrior, and it is an honor, sir, to speak with you, and let us speak again soon.
Thanks, Lynn. Appreciate it. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful day. Okay.
Thanks, Baz. Talk soon.
Bye.